What's up, Josh? Thank you so much for jumping on the AIM podcast.
Nah, man, appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Dude, the first thing I have to say, I just have to clear the air. I wish I could grow a mustache like you, man. You probably
Yeah,
get that a lot.
it's a funny thing. I didn't plan on it was one of those things where when you get out of the military, you grow your facial hair out. And this is literally how my facial hair grows. I don't shave my face. If I could grow a beard, I'd grow a beard, but it comes in like this. So it kind of took on its own life form. So, but yeah, whatever. I dig it. So
You know what? It's interesting. Obviously, the military thing makes a ton of sense. Obviously, you have restrictions on what you can do, and you get out and you want to kind of experience some freedoms in different areas of your life. But from a marketing element, I think it's pretty interesting to see what you've done with it and how it's become part of your brand, and it attracts people. Man, it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's crazy. It was actually how it came about to marketing. It was straight up. I went to Rogue one time after, I think it was in early 2016 or something like that. And Katie and Bill, the owners of Rogue, were like, let's make a t-shirt out of that. And like, that's where it really took off. It was crazy. So
That's amazing. Were they
yeah.
the ones that kind of helped you design that logo that's on like the shirts and stuff, or is that
Yeah,
something?
they're the ones who, yeah, they did all that. Yeah.
It's
So
incredible. So it's stuck with you now. You have to.
yeah, I know. I tell people all the time, like, I can't get rid of it right now. It's like, I probably would shave it off, but
It
I
makes you
can't.
money now.
Yeah, I can't.
It's valuable.
So
Awesome, man.
yeah.
Well, like I said, man, we're pumped to talk to you today. This is a fun podcast. What we do with our brand is we talk a ton about mindset and exploring the idea of just having ambition and how obviously that's going to impact your personal life and where you go and how you succeed, but also the people around you. And I think that's one of the coolest things that you've been able to do throughout your entire career, whether it be military, CrossFit, boxing, is become a better version of yourself, but help so many people along the way. So really want to just dive into your background, just set the context for some of those listening that might not know. Obviously, a lot of people know a lot about you, but for those that don't, I want to hear kind of how you got into the military, because I know that kind of obviously you had a wrestling background, but diving into the military kind of started it all. So I'd love for you to hear more about that.
Yeah. So I was kind of doing the business world side, and I just wasn't really happy with where I was at. I was a loan officer doing mortgages, refinances, just kind of, hating life in the cubicle world. And a buddy of mine who was working alongside me told me he's like, hey, I'm thinking about going to try to be this Navy SEAL. Some of these guys do CrossFit to train. Like, you want to check it out with me? And I was like, sure. So I started doing CrossFit 2005, and then kind of started doing more research on the Navy and SEALs, the SEAL community, and what that was about and what it entailed. And it just really triggered my interest. I was like, whoa, toughest training in the military, why not? I don't know. Like at the time, I think I was just really looking for something that I needed, something other than what I was doing. And, growing up playing sports and wrestling in college, and just having that competitive side, and just always wanting to test myself and push myself. And I kind of fell away from that for a little bit. And I think CrossFit gave me a great mindset. I just loved it. I loved the intensity. I loved that it was not only like a way to become fit, but it was also like you could compete really, really early. Like I kind of realized you could compete, and it was before it even became a sport. Me and my buddies were doing the workout, and I was like, you wanted to win. And then lo and behold, it did become a sport, but it was at the time, it was like 2005, and it was just a really cool way to work out. And so, once I kind of like got addicted to the CrossFit, I was like, well, let's start looking at this Navy SEAL stuff he's talking about, and did some research and just kind of decided to give it a go.
That's incredible.
That's really how I got into it. That was it.
Well, first and foremost, thank you for your service. I appreciate what you did for our country and everyone that you served for. So thank you for that.
I appreciate it.
But yeah, I'm sure, I think it's interesting, you talk to someone who's literally made the ultimate sacrifice, putting their life on the line for others. And I think there's so much to unpack there. And obviously, there's the cliche questions of like, yeah, what was the hardest part? What did you go through? But I think the mindset you develop when you're living a life for others is something that I really want to unfold. So yeah, I want to know kind of the mindset you went in with. Obviously you had this background of wanting to compete, you wanted to do something difficult, challenge yourself, but what did you learn or develop during your time in the military that you kind of took with you as you left?
Yeah, there's a lot of great tools I was given. I had a lot of great mentors in the military that gave me some really great advice, and it really helped to get me through training. But then just to change my mindset in general. After college wrestling, I only went to college for a year and wrestled a year, and I quit. I gave up on it, and that was a hard pill to swallow. But at the time, I just was okay with it. I was okay with being that guy and kind of, I don't know if I say losing. I just didn't have the motivation or the drive and finding a purpose, right? And that's what really the military, I felt like, gave me mentally. Was it gave me a purpose. And I think that's a big thing for a lot of people, men and women out there, right? When you don't feel like you have a purpose, it's really easy to get lost and go down a bad path of maybe bad habits or whatever. But having a purpose and having something to strive for, to be better for, that was something the military definitely instilled in me. Understanding that no matter how bad it sucks, this was a great, I had this mentor, and when we were going through buds, they would give us these little tips, these little like tidbits of knowledge that, these guys were these men who had gone through, and this was in 2007. So, like, we'd already been in war for 6 years. And so these guys had done a lot, right? And they were like coming in to mentor us. They were master chiefs, older guys in the military, and they were coming in and being like, listen, man, like, lesser men than you have come through and done this training. So why can't you do it? Like, you can't sit here and come in here and think that it's this because that's what happens. I feel like in the buds world is people think it's an unattainable goal, right? Like it's like this. So they put it on this pedestal, like being a Navy SEAL is on a pedestal. And yes, it is a very big accomplishment. But yeah, like anybody that puts their mind to it and really dedicates himself can go and do it. It's not an unobtainable goal. And understanding that, and then applying that to the rest of your life, right? Like, no matter what it is that you want, as long as you work hard, put in the time and effort. And when I say work hard, it's, people will be like, oh, it's just a cliche thing to say, but so many people don't realize, like, they give up a little too soon or a little too quick, right? They don't put in that 1,000%, right? Like, man, it is, there are ups and downs, and there are tough, good days and bad days and any part of your life. But if you keep striving and keep pushing, like, anything's obtainable.
I could not agree more. I think you hit it on the head, and that's so true. One thing that you mentioned there that I think is really, really valuable, the idea of, in the military, when lesser men have come before you and done it, and just the idea, I think a lot of times people don't truly believe in themselves, and they're relying on other people's approval or other people's opinions to really pull them and push them forward in life. But that alone is just like saying, giving you the ultimate confidence. Yeah, I might not be the absolute best, but I know that mentally I can do it because I just believe in myself. I know I can push through anything. And I think that's powerful, man.
Yeah. And you don't even have to say, and he worded it with lesser men, and, so those aren't my words. And it doesn't even have to be lesser men, but men have come and done this, right?
Right.
Anybody have come and done this. And I've learned to really apply that to every aspect of my life, right? Like, it's not just the military or physical fitness type things. It's everything, right? So, like, other people can do this, so why can't you do it? Yeah. And it's been a big, mental help for me to use that and understand it and realize, like, yeah, like, as long as if I ever want it bad enough, and I actually put in the actual effort, not like give it a half-ass try, then I can get to pretty much just about anything I want to get to.
No doubt. No, I love that. And I think, a theme that I see across your life and all the things, kind of like the common theme there, is you seek adversity, you seek resistance, like places that are hard. Like, you don't live an easy life and do things that are easy. Like, you being a Navy SEAL, competing at a high level, elite level, a champion level in CrossFit, boxing, like the things that you do, it's almost like you're seeking something difficult. I want you to unpack that, because I think that's another place where people could really take a lot from.
Yeah, it's I don't know if it's something I consciously make the decision to do, but I definitely enjoy testing myself. I enjoy pushing myself, enjoying the slogan I like to say is I'm going to run this body till the wheels fall off. Right. And it's and not only just physically, but mentally, because all these things are not just physically hard. They are mentally challenging. Actually, I feel like Buds was probably one of the most mentally challenging things I've ever done. And then being in the SEAL teams, but physically, like college wrestling was up there with one of the hardest things I've ever done. And then, yeah, I just enjoy it, man. I enjoy the challenge. I enjoy like sitting back and taking risks and being willing to, and I think this is the hardest part for a lot of people, is being willing to fail, understanding that I might not accomplish what I set myself out to be, or set my goal to be. I might not get there, but even if I come up just short, at least I put myself out there, and I'll grow from it. You could call it a failure. I don't like to call them failures, but they're just learning experiences. I learn from, and as long as I'm learning from it, then that's all that matters. But yeah, like I don't like to take the path of least resistance. I'll take some resistance for sure. Right. I'll go down. I'd rather blaze my own trail than follow a simple path that's already been laid out for me. And it's just been something that I've, set my mind out. I literally, the easiest way to talk about it is like every day I hate cold water, and I get up and I get in, 39-degree water every morning for 2 minutes just to be like, no, cold water, you don't win, I win, and I just, it hardens my mind, and it keeps me grounded, right? Like, okay, yeah, this shit sucks, but I'm going to go do it, and I'm going to get after it.
Dude, that's good. I need to start doing that. I might steal that from you.
Yeah. It's a lot of people are doing it now. The cold plunges are big. I started reading about Wim Hof a little bit back in 16 or 17, and then just loved it. And I was like, such a great idea. And I hate, like, the thing in Buds that everyone has their Achilles heel in Buds.
Right.
And mine was cold water, and I hated it. Like running, swimming, O courses, doing all that kind of stuff, shooting, whatever. Like I loved it. But like when it came to cold water, man, like I found the two biggest guys, and I'd be like, hold me close. Like, keep me warm, boys.
I love that. Yeah, no, that's all really cool. I think the cold water thing's awesome. But yeah, like you said, just finding ways to push yourself and be uncomfortable. I think that's where you truly learn about who you are. I think another thing I just kind of noticed, and I'm young, man, I don't have as much experience or wisdom as you, but I've seen a lot of people are scared to embrace who they truly are and get to know themselves. And like, it sounds kind of weird, but I really believe it. I feel like in those moments where you're resisting, having some pain or some struggle, is when you really get to find out who you are and what you're made of. And I think that's something anyone can really get a lot from.
Yeah, 100%. Right. Like, you don't really find out what you're made of until you're put in a situation that you don't know how you're going to react until you're put into it. And then you really get to learn who you are as a person, and deep down, and it's eye-opening, right? And you can't take it. And if, say, it goes a way that you don't think it's supposed to go, like, you can't take it as like, okay, well, I'm not a good person, or I should have done this or should have done that. At least learn from it. Right. And then start to do things that maybe will change your mindset or change the way that you react in those situations, so
100%. And obviously, being a former athlete and you have an incredible athletic background, just the idea of pushing your body and growing and building muscle and endurance, like, that's all important. But the power of training the mind, I think, is something we shy from. And like Benjamin Franklin has a quote, out of adversity comes opportunity. And I think there's so much power in just a small shift in perspective of like saying, okay, I might be in a dark season of my life, something bad might happen, or maybe I'm just going to go put myself in an uncomfortable position willingly, knowing that it's an opportunity instead of a hard time. It's a place for growth. And I think that's like, there's so much power in that.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's true. You're like, just like what you said. Right. And I think understanding that, taking ownership too is a big thing that I think a lot of people struggle with mentally, right? They don't want to blame themselves for when they come up short. I don't like to call them failures, but when they come up short in whatever they're going after, right? And when you take ownership of that, or accountability of whatever it is that you got to, then that's when you can actually see the biggest changes mentally, right? To be like, yeah, it was my fault. I didn't put in the work. I didn't do this. It wasn't because of someone else. No one else controlled what you did. You chose the choices that you decided to go down. And I think that is a big thing for like being mentally strong, right, is understanding that you have to hold yourself accountable and no one else is going to. And you can't be a victim. You can't blame your circumstances on anybody else but yourself, because everyone's got opportunities. Maybe they're not the exact same as everyone else's, but everyone's got opportunities to better themselves. And if they decide that they want to, that they can. And if you come up short, right, like hold yourself accountable, figure out what you could have changed and what you could have done differently. And that's a big thing. I think that was where I saw some of the biggest growth, was when I decided, like, I remember I went and got to speak to the Wyoming wrestling team, and I never really thought about, like, obviously I did, but one of the kids we were talking, and he goes, yeah, but you wrestled in college, right? And you said, how long? And I said, 1 year. And he's like, so what happened? Why'd you quit? And I was like, because I was being weak, man. I was being, like, I was at that time in my life, my mind wasn't strong. And, I chose to take the weak path and give up on myself. And, and it was actually one of the better things that ever happened to me. And the same thing happened in CrossFit 1 year. I didn't make the CrossFit Games, and it just lit a fire, and I held myself accountable, and I didn't point the finger at anybody else. I didn't say it was that person's fault. That wasn't why I went to the CrossFit Games that year. It was my fault. I didn't do the work. And when you can have that mindset, like, that's when you see the biggest growth. And those 2 moments, when I quit wrestling and when I didn't make the CrossFit Games, the years after that were my best years, because I held myself. I was like, oh, I can't rely on past experiences. I can't rely on past accomplishments. You got to still continue to put the work in and day out. And that's where the whole, like, pay the man kind of phase came from. And, people loved it and it took off. So, yeah.
All right, let's dive into it. That was that was a beautiful segue. Talk about it, man, because I think this is something more people need to know about, and this idea and just the ideology behind it. I want to hear kind of how did you even come up with that?
Well, so pay the man was something we were always, you hear in the military, and it was more of a punishment type thing, right? Like, gotcha. Oh, you messed up, you're going to pay the man, right? Right. Oh, you're going to do this, you're going to go pay the man right now. And so I kind of just made a play on it. For me in CrossFit world, it was like everyone wanted to, do the big sexy movements. They want to see the snatch, your snatch and your clean and jerk and lift big heavy weights one time. It's, low intensity. And it was like, for me, I was like, well, I'm going to pay the man first if I want to do those types of things. And so, like, it was just it was the grunt work. It was the long grueling stuff that a lot of people don't want to do or put in the time for. And slowly became more so like, hey, it didn't even become about competition. It was more like, if I want to keep this fitness, if I want to be a healthy person, if I want to do, this in life, I got to pay the man every day. Like, I don't own my fitness, because if I stop paying my dues, it's going to go away. It's like, if you stop paying your rent, you're going to get evicted. So you're going to get kicked out of your house. You don't own that house, you rent it. And that's kind of what I feel like about my health and fitness and a lot of other aspects of your life. And that's where the pay the man quote kind of came from, right? It's like, if you want to keep that stuff, you got to do it every single day. You got to put in the work, or you will lose it.
You got to earn it.
That's right.
I love that. Yeah. I think that's super cool. I've been watching a lot of your YouTube videos. And I just love the common theme there and just hammering that home. That's a strong message that can really be applied really to anything you're doing.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Which is amazing. I want to pivot a tiny bit. I want to dive into your coaching. So obviously you've been incredible in what you've done personally, but now it's cool to see how you're giving back and spreading some of the knowledge, whether it be physical or mental, to others and making an impact that way. I know obviously you have incredible plans from a physical perspective, but I want to hear more about the mental side of things, because I know you offer that as well.
Yeah, I think it was just a cool way to kind of give back. And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with, right? Like, physically, like I said, buds, people could go in and they get in shape and they can do it, but it's the mental aspect of it that really people can struggle with. And not even only just buds, but like military or life in general. And so, because life's hard, man. It's not easy, and there's ebbs and flows, and you have to be able to ride the highs and cruise through the lows and kind of figure out a plan to get through them. And so, I offer some stuff that I feel like really helped me mentally, and some of the stuff that we talked about earlier, right? Some of those little tips, little mindset pieces where when things go bad or things go wrong and they don't go your way, right? Like, you got to be able to to put them back into perspective and understand it. And so we offer some mental coaching, and that's basically what it is. It's, it's my life experiences laid out, and the things that I've gone through, and then how I dealt with them. It's cool. It's cool to be able to give back, because I did a lot of research, prior to my military time, and I put in the effort and tried to like figure out what I needed to do physically, mentally, and all that kind of stuff. And I felt like I was in a great place. And so it's cool to be able to give that back and offer that to other people who are, searching for whatever it is they want to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Would you say that you have an on and off switch? Like, are you able to kind of shut it off? Because I know when you get going, you're an intense guy. Like, how do you manage that element of your life, going from such a high, attack mode, kill mode, whatever you want to call it, to a normal life with family or friends? Like, how do you manage that balance?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's something I definitely do have. I have an on-off switch. If I need to turn on, I need to turn on. And I don't take myself very seriously. I try to keep things light, but when it comes game time or workout time or whatever, like, yeah, I can turn it on. And I feel like a lot of, it was something I recognized in the SEAL teams, man. Like, guys could just, they could turn it on so quick and turn it off so fast as well. And it was something I aspired to be like when I was in, and it was cool, and to learn that and watch from other older team guys and SEALs, and gain that and understand that. And like, hey, yeah, like when shit's real, you got to be real, and you got to be able to get the job done. But man, like, you can turn it off and go back and be normal dad, and let it go and let things go. And I don't even know how to, it's a hard thing to even explain, but yeah, it's it's definitely built in. And I've learned that like when I'm in the gym, and I could be coking and joking right before literally 3, 2, 1, go. Once 3, 2, 1 goes on, like the workout's in, like, it's like you just go into a zone, and you find that place, and you push and push and push. And then the moment it's over, it's like back to joking, and it's how I've been for a long time.
Do you think it's more so developed just over repetitions and time and experiences?
Yeah. And I think not learning how to stress, because the stress really doesn't do much, right? Like,
right.
the worrying really doesn't do much other than cause you more stress and probably hurt your abilities when it comes game time. And just understand that, like, it's not those moments, those big moments, like, they're all defined way before they happen, right? Like it's your training that a saying we had to say was like, you'd want to bleed in training so that you don't bleed in wartime, right? Like, so like, you want to push yourself so hard that when it comes to game time, like, you don't have to worry about, oh, am I capable of doing this? You're capable of doing it because you already did it in training. And now when it comes to competition or whatever, like, now it's the easy phase. This is the easy stuff. This is the stuff like, it's not even that hard, because you push yourself so much harder in training than you're going to have to in this competition.
No question. Yeah, I think that's super true and super powerful. I want to know more about your business, man, and kind of how that came about, the motivations to start that, and kind of where you see that going.
Yeah. I mean, the business world's interesting. I don't, it wasn't something I, like when I went into the military, I'd be like, oh, this is where I'm going to stay. And then CrossFit, I was like, okay, I love this. This is great. Obviously, your athletic career is always going to come to an end at some point, but, yeah. So coffee was just something I fell in love with, and decided to start the brand, and Good Dudes brand. And wanted to be more than just a cup of coffee. I want more like a lifestyle, right? Like, hey, go out and be a good dude no matter what you're doing, right? No matter where you are. And yeah, we make really good coffee because I love coffee. I'm a big coffee nerd. I started drinking it and got into it and started doing my own roasting. And I, like, I'm not doing it just to make a buck. I actually do it because I think it's a cool idea, right? And it was in the teams, you want it to be known as being a good dude. Being a good dude means the guy that you want to go to war with. And so I thought it was a cool idea to kind of go with that as our brand name, and and make really good coffee at the same time. So like, have a good dude's cup of coffee, and then go be a good dude. And being a good dude doesn't mean you have to be a dude, man. Like I know it kind of puts that pigeonhole, right, where it's like a guy, but it doesn't have to be like anybody could be a good dude.
A good person. Yeah.
A good person. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's cool. And I'm enjoying the, it almost has become like a competition as well. Right. Like,
right.
you have to put everything into it for it to see growth and to grow and become better. And so it's fun. It's fun in learning those ins and outs and understanding that just because you make a good product, you still have to market it well and you still have to do all that kind of stuff. So it's cool. It's interesting. And I'm liking it.
I love the parallels between successful businesses and successful athletes, and just to see the different things that are very similar. What would you say have you learned from all of your background, whether it be military, CrossFit, boxing, whatever, that you've applied to the business side of things?
Yeah, just not giving up, right?
Yeah.
Like it's easy, like everything. Like you're gonna have good days and bad days. You're gonna feel like you're doing everything wrong one day, and then the next day it comes in, you feel like you're doing everything right, and just understanding that like life, it's going to be ebbs and flows, and you're going to have to continue to strive and continue to grow. The person who thinks they know everything is the person who should retire from everything, right? So I don't know. I know I don't know. I know I don't know enough, and I'm loving learning and learning the process and understand and trying to figure it out and trying to understand it. And that's the saying we had in the teams was get the job done, I'm sorry. Plan your dive, dive your plan. When everything goes to shit, just get the job done,
like
kind of adapt and overcome kind of thing. Right. So like figure it out. So, and that's kind of what you have to do in that world, right? Like when you think you got it all figured out and then everything doesn't go as planned, you got to just get the job done. So yeah.
To be honest, with the right mindset, like I think personally that's exciting. Like I think it's exciting to be in that position where you don't know necessarily everything about how it has to be done. You just have this underlying willpower of like, I'm going to just make it happen and I'm going to figure it out and then learn along the way. Like I think there's so much excitement in that.
Yeah, it is. It's really cool. It is fun, and like exactly like not knowing and again, being willing to put yourself out there and being able to like fail and then figure out why you failed and where your shortcomings were and fix them and then go out and do it better. So
no doubt. Now is the company based in San Diego?
No, it's actually so it's all online, and where there's 5 of us, and we're all literally spread out throughout the country. Like, gotcha. I'm in Denver, Arizona, Minneapolis, Connecticut, and then South Carolina. Like that's literally. So yeah, like where the roasting and everything's happening is up in Connecticut.
Cool. So, yeah, that's amazing. I need to check it out, man. That sounds good.
Yeah, man, for sure. Yeah, definitely. We'll see some.
Last thing I kind of want to touch on before we wrap this up, because I have to ask you about it. You have one of the best, the home gym. I want to talk about that. What went into that, your design, your placement for all that. I know a little bit about it, but how did you even get started in building that out?
I mean, that was something. So like when I started doing CrossFit in 05, like there weren't CrossFit gyms. And so it was something like, I was like, oh, I want to be able to do this in my home. And so I don't have to waste time. And then slowly as I started to compete, I had obviously got the Rogue started to sponsor me as an athlete, which was a huge honor and privilege that they wanted me to be a part of their team. And, and then it was just like, I remember buying my house in 2010 in San Diego and just like walking out the back door and like seeing the 3-car detached garage. I was like, yep, I'll take it. And it's slowly kind of just like, you just had to figure it out. It took a long time to get it to exactly where I wanted it to be. But I would say probably around like 16 or 17, I had it kind of pretty dialed in, pretty amazing. There wasn't much I needed for I felt like my home gym was probably better than most CrossFit gyms out there. And so, yeah, it was great. Now I moved to Colorado and I have, it's definitely don't have quite as much space here. It's crazy. The house is bigger, but the garage, my gym portions are smaller, but I have 2. So I have one in the garage and I have one in the basement, and it's great. And, and now that I'm, not really competing or striving for that, I don't need that exact setup that I had in San Diego. And I am Airbnb that house out in San Diego, so people can go and use that gym. And I left the gym. For the most part, it's not exactly how it was, but it's still there. So you can actually go use that San Diego Josh Bridges home gym, and if you want it.
Do you find people Airbnb that because then like is your name attached to it and everything? Can they? Do they know
No,
that?
no, I don't think
Okay,
so.
so you would just
This is
have to
this,
know.
yeah, this is the first time I've actually put it out there, like actually like anywhere public that I did that, that I've done that. So,
Let's go.
yeah, 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 maybe it'll take off. Who knows? So,
Hey man, if we can help you plug that, let's do
yeah,
it.
yeah,
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 that's incredible. And I'm sure it helps obviously when you're taking on a project like that to have a rogue partnership. I'm sure it helps kind of facilitate the
yeah.
deal.
It helped a lot. It helped a tremendous amount.
Let's
Yeah.
go, man. So yeah, one I just kind of follow up on that. Like, do you prefer to train alone? I know you talk a lot about having kind of the setup where two people can train at a time or have multiple people in the gym. I know people have so many different takes on that. Like, what's your preference?
I like working out with people,
Yeah.
but I have no issues with working out alone. I did it for a long time by myself, and I don't have any issues pushing myself when I'm with other people, or when I'm not when I'm by myself. As I got older and later into my career, I did enjoy having other people around. Right? It's just more fun, right? Like it gets a little more competitive, and it's easier to have that push, right? That external push. But if you don't have that internal push, that's going to be, for me, that was always something that I knew that helped me as an athlete, right? I had that internal push. I didn't need an external motivator. I enjoyed pushing myself and seeing and competing against the clock or a weight or whatever, right? Against myself. And so I wouldn't say I prefer training alone, but I don't mind it at all. Like
Right.
it's definitely something I got used to doing and still being able to push.
I love that. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Man, this has been an incredible episode. You're a legend, and I appreciate you. My final question, and I'm curious to see what you say here. Just kind of reflecting back in your life, like I'm 22, so obviously I'm still pretty young in the game. Like I'm not super advanced, but I even to this point, I think back on like when I was 18 or when I was like earlier in high school, like what would I have done differently? Not to say I regret anything, but just to kind of evaluate and reflect. What kind of advice would you give yourself at 22, stepping in, after college or whatever? Like what kind of things would you not necessarily change, but emphasize or double down on?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I probably would have changed a lot. Because like when I was 22, man, like well, that was actually right when I found CrossFit and all that. I was 22 years old, so and learned about the SEALs like that. Like right there at 22, the thing I probably would have told myself if I could go back and tell myself is just to hold yourself accountable.
Mm,
Right. Like that. I think that was the best advice that was the moment that like it clicked for me. Like I have to hold myself accountable. Nobody's going to do it for me. No one's going to hold my hand through this. Yeah, I did. I went through high school wrestling and got into college and had a scholarship to wrestle. And I gave up on myself and I quit on myself and I didn't hold myself accountable. At the time, I was blaming other people for why I didn't want to wrestle anymore. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't me being unmotivated. It was other people's fault. And that was my biggest downfall, right? Like was not holding myself to accountable. Like my actions shows where I was going and what I was doing. So yeah, go back and hold yourself accountable. No one's like, don't be a victim. Don't be the victim to yourself. Right. Don't believe the lies you tell yourself, like they're all lies and hold yourself accountable. And, it'll definitely change who you are as a person.
let's go. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, man. Let's pay the man.
I love it. Let's do it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
And thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.